In a world of over 8 billion people, where no life is without challenges, some individuals have not only faced adversity but have risen above it with strength and grace.
Welcome to Rise and Reflect, a YouTube series dedicated to showcasing the stories of resilient individuals who have turned their struggles into triumphs. Through their stories, we hope to ignite a spark within you.
As Nelson Mandela once said, "Do not judge me by my successes. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again." This series embodies that spirit.
Join us as we explore the lives of these resilient soldiers, whose paths may not have been smooth, but who have walked them with purpose and determination.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Rise and Reflect, a YouTube series that I'll be doing, basically just highlighting some of the key people who have inspired me in some ways. So we have with us today Lance Scott, the Lance Scott. So who is Lance and where is Lance from?
Lance is a young man from that hills. I tend to tell people nowadays that I have maroon background because having done some research, I found that my family from my father's side seems to have their ancestry linked to the Maroons, and that's the original Maroons. That's the Spanish Maroons, ones that would have got their freedom when the British in 1655 gave the takeover. So yeah, Lance is a Maroon.
Every time I have a conversation with Lance, it's like a history class.
Yeah.
Right? So let us just dive right into it. You know, we don't have no long intro, and you know, I told Lance before we started to film that I'm not editing these videos. Like these, you'll go and get the raw footage, alright? So we'll try our best to be ourselves, be conversational, and we're going to chat, make it unfiltered, right? So how has your experience as a Ph.D. candidate shaped your understanding of climate change and its challenge?
Alright, so let me start by saying most persons have some understanding of climate change now, and it's due to the wonderful work that has been going on. You know, entities such as UNDP putting on a lot of sessions, a lot of workshops and so on to increase awareness. But before this, limited number of persons knew about climate change, and I was somewhat on that side, not knowing much about it. And it's really when I started to do my postgraduate degree, I realized how much there is to actually know with regards to climate change, and my knowledge deepened over time in it, looking at you know, the drivers of climate change and the different strategies that us as Jamaicans have employed over time to deal with it.
So that is indigenous strategies, or
some are. So some are indigenous technical knowledge. For example, if we think about farmers in the South St. Elizabeth, that in the Flagaman region, Pedro Plains generally, and the kind of strategies that they use, that is indigenous technical knowledge.
what kind of strategies are these?
So farmers typically in this area, they utilize what we call mulch. So they use mulch to aid in terms of their crop production, because that area is a unique cropping system there, because they have what we call a rain shadow effect due to the Santa Cruz Mountain in South St. Elizabeth. So subsequently, that area experiences very little rain. It's actually one of the dry zones in Jamaica, and as a result, over the many years, the farmers would have developed these method of using mulch, and it helps a number of ways. It helps in terms of moisture retention. It also helps in terms of fertility of the soil, because what the mulch does, it allows for the for the flora and the fauna, particularly soil biome to really flourish, and subsequently positively impact crop production.
So what do you use to make the mulch? Regular plants?
Yeah, man. So the mulch is actually what we call the guinea grass. So the guinea grass, it's a very prized possession as well. You'll find if you go in South St. Elizabeth, and it's so unassuming. If you were to go into South St. Elizabeth, you just see some grass in people's yard, and you say probably, hey, why do they have grass in the yard? Why do they cut it down? So unassuming. But when you interact with the farmers, the citizens in the area, you realize that it's a very prized possession, and it actually fetches a wonderful price as well if you were to buy it.
Okay, yeah. Luxury. So you spoke about the main drivers of climate change. Is it human? Are human the drivers?
That's a big question. So the human aspect of climate change is what we call the anthropogenic climate change, and it is true that our actions since the late 1900s have really led to unprecedented warming globally. So yes, there's a contribution that us as humans have made in terms of climate change. However, you might find some persons arguing that the climate has always changed. It's not a wrong argument, because if you look at the different cycles of climate over time, whether it is 2,300 years or 100,000 years, you'll find that yes, there are always periods of highs and lows in terms of warmer periods and cooler periods. But in more recent times, you really find that our actions, fossil fuels that we've been burning due to the Industrial Revolution, and since then, has really contributed to the increased amount of greenhouse gases, and subsequently, climate change, increased sea level, across the globe,
and
as
the
well as
increase in temperatures
really,
yeah.
and reduce sea ice and glaciers as well, and so on.
Okay, so what inspired you to pursue a career in this field? I know you're a researcher as well, so tell us a little bit about why research. A lot of people don't like research. So how you come to like it?
So I've always loved geography. Anybody who knows me would say, yeah man, he likes geography. He's always liked geography in high school and even before. I used to love maps, and my cousin and I, Tracy and Coleman, we used
Shout out to Tracy and Coleman.
we used to play games at Ginger Age, all age that we attended, where we used to try to find different places on the map. And from then we had that curiosity for geography, and it continued into high school, in the university, and I got the opportunity to pursue my postgraduate degree to do a Master of Philosophy, and I took it up. I did get other opportunities, before. Yeah, I remember I got a wonderful opportunity while I was overseas, and
a job offer?
Yeah man, I got a wonderful job offer, and it was very attractive at the time as well. But I chose to pursue the Master of Philosophy, to do research in geography. And with geography, we try to look at current matters. Geography tend to be very pragmatic, so we try to look at issues that are affecting people now and issues that will affect people in the future. And subsequently, climate change would be one of those key things that's affecting us, because if we think about climate change and how it's affecting even the agriculture sector, the tourism sector, as a matter of fact, all sectors, even health, is affected by climate change in one way or another. So it's really a topical matter, and as a result, they decided to do some work in that area.
Tell us a little bit about your PhD. What are you focusing on?
So my PhD work looks at how we can utilize insurance as a tool to deal with climate change. So what you find is that farmers tend not to have access to financing, especially majority of our farmers who farm on less than 5 hectares of land, and they farm on marginal areas on some hill slopes and some valleys that in the case you have some heavy rains or a landslide, they lose everything. So you tend that farmers tend not to have a lot of access to financing. So therefore they can't really improve their farming production as much as they want to. In addition to that, you find that when they're affected, they don't have anything to fall back to. Say for example, you're a farmer and you cultivate some yam up in Trilali, and some heavy rains come, or a massive drought condition come, and you lose all your crops for that season, and you have nothing to fall back on. So that's where insurance comes in play. It kind of gives you a buffer, so just in case something goes wrong, you have something to fall back on, so you don't end up in that massive cycle of poverty. So in a sense, that is what my work surrounds, trying to look at insurance, how farmers can utilize insurance to improve their output, to increase their resilience overall.
It's big money in the area.
Insurance, it's big money.
Okay, so would you encourage other young people to pursue this as a career in terms of parametric insurance?
It's big money, and when I say it's big money, we think about insurance and the history of insurance in the Caribbean. If we look at the history of insurance in the Caribbean as well, it's linked to. We cannot think about insurance in the Caribbean and not talk about slavery and colonialism, because they go hand in hand. Alright, so insurance in the Caribbean really was introduced because of slavery. There was property that needed to be insured. So in essence, a lot of the companies that are involved, talk about the reinsurers, companies that insure the insurance companies. It's big money. That's what I mean when I say it's big money.
Big money in climate too?
And even climate change is big on the topic. You can ask anyone, and you see there's so many different funds. There's a Green Climate Fund and so many others that have been created recently. At COP28, you had the Loss and Damage Fund being created. So you have a lot of funds that pumps into climate change. So it has become a very lucrative area, and a lot of persons as a result are going into it.
Okay, so let us now take a deep dive into Lance's personal life. So Lance, I hear in the grapevine that you're engaged to be married while completing your PhD. So how do you manage the pressures of academia and all of what you have going on?
I'm wondering which grapevines I hear that from. That's all like something that you know very much about.
I have my people in different places. So.
Most things present a challenge in life. The best thing in life is not free. And similarly, in terms of pursuing further studies, it should not be at the cost of making certain other important steps in your personal life.
Young men, I implore you to get your chairs and sit down because Lance is talking. Go ahead, Lance.
Yeah.
Bend to the young men.
So while it's important to have a kind of sound foundation, it's also vital to, especially if you find someone that you love and care for, it's okay to make that next step.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay to make that next step. So it's just a matter of both parties understanding what they're signing up for.
Yes.
And
sacrifices and the compromises that you will have to make.
And the work that has to be put into everything at play.
Yes, that's so true. So, what role does your personal relationship play in supporting your professional goals and vice versa?
They play a very important role because your personal relationship. When I think about personal relationship, I think about your persona. Who you are as a person. Are you kind? Are you a quote-unquote bad person? Are you a good person? What are your ethical values and so on? And I think those things play a direct role in your career because you'll have some persons that may work with you once and they find out that you're not a nice person, you are very disrespectful and so on, and they'll never work with you again. And subsequently certain opportunities will pass you because you might find that those persons are the gatekeepers to certain things. So it's very vital to balance both of those. And similarly, it is always the aim that your professional, your profession can positively impact your personal life in one way or another.
Yes, that's true. That's so true. So you were head boy at St. Catherine High School. So what was that experience like?
Yeah, man. One of the largest single shift schools. Yeah, one of the largest single shift schools in the Caribbean. Right? St. Catherine High. So, and a school that has produced a lot of greatness, I must say, in terms of in society. You can find so many people who would have been sitting in those seats at 35 St. John's Road at one point or another. So yes, as a head boy, it was a great experience serving my fellow colleagues. It was a great experience, and
you get along with everybody.
I'm normally that guy.
Were you boring?
I'm normally that guy that's
Did the
boring.
students find you fun?
Yeah, I'm normally that guy that's boring and do some of the key things that needs to be done.
Okay, what were your list of achievements if we need to go down that? Probably maybe a top two? Top two stuff that you were very proud to have instituted at school during your tenure?
So we were big on motivation of youth. Yeah. And that even came after I left St. Catherine High, when I went back as the youth mayor to give a presentation. But I recall one major thing that we achieved was we organized a whole motivational session for the boys. And might I add, St. Catherine High is a co-educational institution. But from then, we were seeing the marginalization of men, of boys in society.
Yes.
And it's even worse now. It's getting worse every day. If we think about the suicidal rate of men versus women, it's telling. So we put on a boys motivational session, myself and the deputy, and well supported, and we got some big names at the time, Chronics, to come and talk,
Chronics.
and talk to the
Big
guys.
name every day. Yes.
You know, big up Chronics.
Big up Chronics. And we're welcoming you to the show so you can be interviewed.
Yeah, man. So, it was a great experience, and it had an impact on the boys in a positive way, because they were able to see a different perspective, a different kind of outcome, a different face of success. Oftentimes we relate success to this jacket and ties. You're able to see Jamar coming and telling about his experience, and it was good.
That's a nice project. I really like it, because a lot of times we focus on women empowerment, and I think in Jamaica the women are too them over the top right now. Like we need to invest in our young men so that we can get some husbands for our young girls, because we're leaving the young men behind and it's going to be a problem. Right? And it has already been a problem. What are some of the things that you've seen in society? Because we fail to empower the young men as much as we've empowered the young women. What are you seeing? I mean, yes, we've seen the statistics where at UWI, in terms of the graduation statistic, more young women are graduating than men. I think it's
4 to 1. So 4 to 1 the ratio.
Yes.
And it's not only UWI, it's right across higher education institutions across Jamaica, where you have more women. They're leaving with better qualifications. They're more qualified than the men, and you have a high dropout rate even from the high school level. From grade 10 to grade 11, you find a massive attrition of males in Jamaican schools, where they go, they hustle, because many think that, okay, I have to go out and make the bread for everybody, and not a bad thing, it's a very good thing. However, that kind of moving away from that social mobility that education can provide at such an early age has direct consequences going forward, because not too long from then, what you'll find is that they would get caught up in one thing or another, trying to make some quick money, and then that's where things get
all the kind of illegal things that they keep getting into, the bad roads that they end up going down, and so this is why it's so important. So we're winding down. I have one last personal question, and then a general question to close. So what goals do you and your fiancé share when it comes to building a life together while balancing your demanding careers?
I wonder if she can take that one from first.
I don't know if she's here. Is she here?
I mean, I think there are some fundamental things that they have in terms of trying to move forward, trying to get a solid foundation, getting assets and building your portfolio. I think those are some key mutual goals that we share in building a life
You
together.
sound rich, more assets. You sound rich, man.
And in terms of demand, as regards to the demand in career, I guess that can be a challenge, because you find that one person might be at point A, another person might be at point B, but I think the most important thing is communication. Just to communicate and as best as possible spend time with each other and so on.
What you mean by one person being at point A and the other being at point B?
Mean one person is here and the other person is probably elsewhere somewhere in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to clarify for the listeners.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, how do you define success?
Success is a consistent realization of a worthy goal. You know?
That's a simple definition.
Yeah, it's a very simple definition. So I'd say, success varies from person to person, and you'll always vary based on context. Overall, success is, being at that place where you have dreamt to be at. Yeah, because I guess that's a personal success aspect. I think somewhere that you have dreamt to be at, embracing it, and always trying to improve and build and get better at what you do. So for me, success is not a destination. It's more of a journey, something that you have to do every day. So you get up and you be successful every day.
Hey,
Yeah.
that sounds lovely, and that's very humbling to hear. Thank you so much for being with us, Lance. Is there any last words you want to leave for the listeners? Any words of inspiration? Any quote to take them through a bad time before we close?
I just end by saying, we are in a very volatile world, and every day people see these wars and so on. Every time you go on social media, you see wars, you see something negative, you see that someone is dying, you see that people are complaining about the state that we live in, and so on. So I'd say ultimately, just try to be a good person and try to, as best as you can, contribute positively to society in whatever way you can. Whatever you do, if it is you work in a bank, have good customer service. If you work at a hotel, whatever you do, just try to be your best self and try to have a positive impact, because cumulatively, if we all have a positive impact, we'll have a positive Jamaica, a positive world. So that is what I'm leaving.
All right, so that's it, guys. Walk with and give grace. All right.